Hello. Hi. Good morning for all those that are in the US and in the West. Good afternoon for all those that are watching from the Eastern countries. Good to see you guys jumping on. So, as always, I'm live in my Facebook and Periscope and Instagram. Good to have all of you guys, and YouTube. That's where you will find this replay, Instagrammers, because you guys are always asking me, where will this replay be? It's on YouTube, and it's also on my public page. So you can check it out there. Good to see all of you guys. All right, that's going to be my last sip of my tea for the morning. I want to talk about something that came up yesterday on a post that I did. So I'll let people jump in here a little bit more. And then we are going to go ahead and deal with this inconsistency and discipline. It is a topic that comes up all the time. People ask me all the time, how do I become more consistent? How do I become more disciplined? Whether it's in their prayer life, whether it's in their marriage, whether it's in their business, whether it's in their ministry. People are constantly asking me, how do I become more consistent? How do I become more disciplined? So this should really be helpful. Someone is asking me, is your book, Prophecy 101, good for beginners in the prophetic? Also, it is with your maiden name. Yes, it is the first ever book I wrote. I wrote it over, 14 years ago. I've been talking about revamping that book for forever. It is really the basics in the prophetic. So if you find it, it's going to be under Chilongo, which is my maiden name. And that's the book is called The Prophetic 101. Like I said, it's the first book that I ever wrote. It is out there online, and it is good for those that are just beginning in the prophetic. So I am gonna get my charger really quick for my phone, because we will lose Instagram because that phone is dying. Let's see if we can get you guys plugged in. All right. So yeah, that book is out there. Several books I've written, but that one is my oldest one. And it is on the basics of the prophetic. And at some point, let me see if I can get you guys resettled. The Instagram people. At some point, you're in front of my mic now. At some point, I will get that done. Okay, it's gonna be a little close up and personal. Let me move around a little bit and see if we can get these people settled. But good to have all of you guys on. For those of you guys who this might be your first live with me, my name is Dr. Faith. Welcome. I own a company called Ask Dr. Faith Inc., where we create resources and tools for growing Christians to live brilliant lives. And then I co-pastor a church with my husband called Legacy Center Church. So I am glad that you guys are on. Let's get into it, because I don't like having all that formality in the beginning, because I know you guys are on here to get the content that you need so that you could do something extraordinary. So as I'm talking and giving you guys these 10 different steps, I would love to hear your feedback. Just one takeaway, one thing that you're going to implement when we finish this to help you be more consistent. Now, this post came from a post that I made yesterday on traits that non-entrepreneurs usually have, right? So we have an entrepreneurship course coming up. We want to help people take their businesses to the next level, scale them 5 figures, 6 figures. But I'm also honest that not everybody is an entrepreneur. And I think that the culture that we're in right now does us a little bit of a disservice, because, you're seeing people flourishing and people are growing and they're doing really well. I do believe we are in a season of creating wealth. We believe we're in a season of breaking poverty. And that's one of the main reasons why I do the business course, because I want to give people tools to be able to excel so that they can break through, so that they can have multiple streams of income. But one of the things that I said yesterday is that if you struggle with inconsistency and you struggle with discipline, you may not be an entrepreneur. Right. And one of my good girlfriends was like, well, I don't know. For me, I think there was a season when I was sick or tired and I just couldn't figure it out. One thing that you will see as a natural trait, not just for entrepreneurs, right, is for believers who are successful in their life is consistency and discipline. Obviously, discipline can be developed, consistency can be developed, but you're going to have to really want to develop it. A lot of people want to make money, but they don't understand the amount of work that goes into it. A lot of people want to flow in spiritual gifts and move in, signs and wonders, but they don't understand the level of spiritual discipline that is required in order to get to that next level. And so what I want to talk about today are 10 ways for you to increase your productivity, even as we're going into 2021, because a lot of people start planning for 2021 on January 1st, but really mentally, you want to get yourself ready to succeed in the next year, in the next 5 years now. You don't get in the moment and then try to figure out how you're going to succeed. So for me, December is supposed to be a slow down month. This is the month where I'm supposed to rest. I'm supposed to think. I'm supposed to strategize and clarify for what is to come, so that when I hit the new month, right, we hit January, we are running forward and we're not trying to figure out what it is that we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be doing it. So the first thing in order to grow in discipline and consistency that you want to do is you want to clarify your goals. You need to have goals about your life. When we counsel marriage couples or married couples or do premarital counseling for them, we ask them to put together goals in their faith. Where do they want to be in their walk with God? In their finances, where do they want to be financially? In their career, and then in their family. What do they want to see out of their marriage? What do they want to see out of their children? We ask them to create these goals at 6 months, at 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. You could also add 3 years in there. But this is what you need to be doing with your life right now. If you struggle with inconsistency or you're not inconsistent, but you just want to take your productivity to the next level, what are my 6 months goals? What are my 1 year goal? What are my 3 year goals? What are my 5 years goals? Now, this is one thing about goals. You want to make sure that your goals are measurable. That means that you can't say, I just want to lose weight, because you can't measure that. You can see how much you lost at the end of the day. But if you want to lose weight, you want to say, I want to lose 15 pounds in the next 3 months. I want to lose 100 pounds in 2 years, right? But they need to be measurable, and they also need to be, I'll use the word sizable, meaning that you don't just say, I want to make 600, I want to make $100,000 in the next year, right? And you haven't even started a business. I've shared with you guys before, when I started my business, my goal, we looked at our budget, what we needed to pay our bills, and just to make sure that we had a little left over, and we just needed about $3,000. So my goal for the first 6 months of my business was to make $3,000, right? Once I hit that goal, and it was very soon that I was able to surpass it, I was able to say, okay, well, the next goal is 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. So make goals for your life, whether it's in your faith, whether it is in your finances, whether it's in your business, that are measurable, but they're also sizable. They're not like crazy goals that you haven't thought through. The reason this is important to discipline and consistency is when we have goals that are too big, or we don't have a way to measure our goals, then we don't follow through because we get overwhelmed or we get tired. Last week, I was consulting a couple. They're getting ready to launch some amazing products in the marriage sphere, and we helped them. We did a 3-hour consult on how to launch, create, and market all their business and their course. And one of the questions that I asked them was, what do you guys want to make? Right? And this is one of the first questions that I ask entrepreneurs, because if you don't have a clue of how much money you want to bring in per month, then you're not going to make goals that make sure that you reach that goal, right? You can be, oh, I don't know. We're just going to play it out. I'm going to figure it out. So we came up with the number. Let's just say $20,000, right? So, okay, you guys want to make $20,000 from this launch, from this course. That means how much are we going to charge, right? Because that's the next thing. Okay, well, that means we want to charge about $250 for this course. All right, well, then that means that we want to make sure we get 100 people to register for this course. Once we get that number clear, then that is going to motivate us in our marketing. It's going to motivate us in how we reach out. We're going to make sure that we don't go to sleep at the end of the day until we have reached that. Goals are your posts for your motivation. So if you're in a career, if you want to get to the next level in your career, you need to assess, which leads me to my second point, I believe, which is what you have and what you don't have, right? So a lot of us lack consistency. We lack discipline because we don't know what we have and we don't know what we don't have. We come up with a plan. We want to be like this. We want to be the premier shop. We want to own this. We want to be the top of our game, but we don't even know what steps it takes to get to the top of our game. And then in addition to that, we don't assess ourselves to identify what we don't have. Oh, I believe I'm called to be a prophet of the nations. Okay, what does that mean? Can you systematically break down the definition? What do they do? Where do they go? What does that look like? This is all about building consistency and discipline. When you don't have clear definition around your identity, around your purpose, or around your goals, you're not going to be able to achieve them, or you're not going to be able to fully manifest it. So, okay, you want to, be the next whoever. Why need a Bynum? What are the steps? What don't I have? What do I need? That's the next thing that you need, because some of us focus so much on reaching the goal. I need to have this many people in my course. I need to make this much money, or I need to be married by the end of the year, right? But you haven't assessed what you need to stay married, what you need to do internally, what you have and what you don't have. So a lot of people are not consistent because they're not able to do the early work, which is assessing what you have and what you don't have. The next step that you want to do. So the first one was clarify your goals. Sit down and write 6 months goals, 1 year goals. And I would say for you guys, especially for those of you guys who are already very disciplined, you can go all the way up to, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. But if you get overwhelmed, if you don't know how to finish stuff, if you start and stop, I would say 6 months goal, 1 year goal, and 3 months goal. You don't even look at your 1 year or your 3 year until you have completed the 6 months. If you're really struggling with consistency, you could start with a 1 month goal, then a 3 month goal, and then a 6 month goal, and you build on it that way. The next thing is you want to create steps on reaching them. So we talked about making sure the goal is measurable. How will I know I have reached this? If my goal when I started business was to make $3,000 a month, when I reached it, I knew I reached my goal. Then we push up the goal. The goal is to make 7,000. The goal is to make 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 80,000 a month, right? And then we double it as we go. So you want to make sure that you are able to measure, and you want to make sure that they're sizable. The next thing that we talked about is that you need to assess what you don't have and what you have. A lot of us believers feel like everything needs to be spiritual, right? So, well, we're just going to pray about it and God is going to help me. God, it's not a verse, helps themselves, those that help themselves. But the truth is, what is the work that you're putting in? What is it that you have done and say, God, I am bringing this as a sacrifice. God, I have studied. God, I have trained. God, I have gone to school and nothing is shifting. I have done my part. Now, what can you do with your part? People feel like God is just going to break through in your life. What are you giving him as an offering? And your discipline is part of that offering. The fourth thing is do some interpersonal work. I have been coaching people in business, coaching people in life, helping them deal with inner healing stuff for forever. And oftentimes when we lack discipline, when we lack consistency, there is a lie that we have believed eternally that makes us sabotage the plans and the works of God for our lives. So some questions that you can ask yourself, and I've posted this on Instagram and it's on my Facebook, you can check it out there, is what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Because oftentimes there's this internal fear. So when we get close to achieving a goal, when we get close to breakthrough, the next thing that we do because of that fear is we sabotage. Sabotage is when we do things, whether subconsciously or consciously, to prevent something from happening. There are people who sabotage relationships. They're praying every day, doing every fast to be married, but deep down inside, they don't believe they're worthy of marriage. They're afraid of being married. People people approach them, but because they have this lie that they have believed that is fueling them, every time they get deep or close into a relationship that may turn into marriage, they start acting crazy. They start looking for excuses. They start trying to break that relationship up. They internally sabotage. People do this with their career. I see this with artists all the time because I know a lot of gifted artists, people that can create stuff, people that can braid, people that can make cupcakes. And I'm like, you would be making a lot of money. Let me just coach you for 6 weeks and get your life together. But generally is they don't really believe in their own product. And the truth is, when it comes to entrepreneurship, if you don't believe in your product, nobody else is going to believe it. And so what they do is that they're willing to give it away for free because they don't see value in themselves. And so they're constantly sabotaging opportunities. They're constantly sabotaging people that want to invest in them because they don't believe in themselves. So you've got to do the internal work, right, to figure out, what am I really afraid of? There's the fear of success. There's the fear of failure. But people who are inconsistent and people who are disciplined, there's probably some kind of fear that is driving them to cause them to continue to sabotage or to cause them to never fully give of themselves, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's at a church. You've been praying for a church. You're a part of it. There are people who want to be your friends. They want to bring you in the circle, but you keep leaving right after church service. And then you say, well, I don't have any friends. No, there's something internally that's driving you. Do the work. Do the work. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What do I desire most? Right? Ask yourself, what is it that I desire most? What do I want most? Some of us are afraid of what we truly want. Some of us are afraid of what we truly want because we don't think we're worthy to even voice or to even think we're worthy of that. Some of you guys have been in such bad relationships. The idea of actually being in a healthy, good relationship where a woman loves you and takes care of you, or a man pursues you and values you, it makes you afraid. So you can't even verbalize it. Some of us, we're okay with helping other people's dreams, other people's visions, but to think maybe deep, I think I could do this for myself, or I think I could launch out on my own. You keep sabotaging that because you're afraid to vocalize what you truly want. And then the next thing you want to ask yourself, and I'm still on 4 of 10, what is stopping you? What is stopping you? Assess your life. I always tell people you can't live life on cruise control. Cruise control, because you are intentional when you're in cruise control. God has given us this life, and part of stewardship, I told you guys I was going to do a live on how to steward your life, steward your money, is being intentional about what is going on inside you and around you. All right, 5, have a clear why. Why do I want to do what I want to do? What is on the other side of me accomplishing this goal, me launching this business, me finishing school, me saying yes to this relationship? What are the benefits of that? And when you want to be inconsistent, when you want to be undisciplined, you begin to think of what the benefits are instead of what you're losing by being more disciplined in the moment. Right? One of the things I've taught about and taught you guys is that sons think about the future. Orphans always think about the present. And so people that lack discipline and consistency live in the present. People that are disciplined and consistent live in the future. You guys, for those of you guys who are just following me, this may be new to you, but I absolutely love bags, right? I love them. And one of my good friends who's been making probably triple the amount I make was like, girl, you should just get a Chanel bag. And I looked at that price tag of that bag and I was like, oh no. Like in all reality, I could buy it, right? It wouldn't do too much to our budget, but it doesn't make sense at where I am and where my goals are. So I told my husband, I said, babe, the year that I gross $5 million, my gift to myself is going to be a $5,000 Chanel bag, right? Once again, I could probably afford it right now if I wanted to, but it doesn't make sense with my goals. And it helps drive me, right? There is a goal at the end of that. Now, the reason we do business the way that we do it is because we want to launch schools. We want to help kids that are back home in Africa. We want, when we go to big organizations and say, hey, we want to build something, and they say, can we look at your assets? Can we look at your net worth? We can show them what they are so that they know that we've been good stewards over what we've had and they can trust us with their money, right? So you got to have a clear why of where you're going and why you're doing what you're doing. Is it so that you could be healthier? Is it that so that your marriage could thrive? Which, by the way, we have an amazing marriage retreat coming up in February. There's only 7 spots left. And this is for the people who want to have a successful marriage holistically. So we have a sex therapist coming, myself and my husband, we have another couple. They're all in business. They're in ministry. They have children. They have succeeded in multiple areas of life. And we want to help you couples. So check that out. It's in the link in the bios. If you are looking at being more disciplined at investing in your marriage, all of it requires discipline. Talking about things with your spouse requires discipline. Forgiving in a marriage requires discipline. But anyway, I'll do some marriage teaching later on in January. So have a clear why. 6, deal with the internal issues. So I talked about asking yourself some questions, and this is connected to the internal issues. But most people who are inconsistent and most people who like discipline struggle with fear. They struggle with self-sabotage and they struggle with depression. They will say stuff like, I just can't get myself going, or something happened that's making it really hard for me to keep moving. If you don't really, because what happens is a lot of us just look at the outward. Is this a spiritual attack? Is this, we think everything is spiritual, but the issue is that you never grieved your mom. You never grieved that relationship. And you have carried that trauma of that hurt on in your life. And now you have no energy to do anything. So the lack of consistency, and this is where, I had shared that me and my girlfriend were talking about this in my post. This makes sense if you had some kind of trauma, some kind of loss, and you never dealt with it. It's going to be hard to pick yourself up and get going. And one of the points that I give, I'm going to get to it in a minute, is that you got to get yourself unstuck. Nobody's going to get you unstuck. You've got to get yourself unstuck. You got to learn how to keep yourself motivated. You got to learn how to keep pushing forward. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, besides the internal issues, those are emotional, fear, right? Self-sabotage, depression, maybe even rejection. Maybe you stepped out and tried something and it didn't work last time. And you have learned what we call learned hopelessness, where you just think it's never going to work out, right? You are constantly sabotaging because of that truth. You need to go through counseling, get someone to help you, go through some inner healing. But some of us need to go through deliverance. And this is when you have gone through the counseling, you have gone through the coaches, but you feel out of control. And you have tried all the natural resources to change the way that you view. And a lot of times when people need a deliverance, when there's a lack of consistency and discipline, they need deliverance from things like laziness. That is a spirit. The spirit of laziness. It can be passed down in your family. It could be something that you picked up from somewhere. Laziness or slothfulness, which is just being messy, which is not just taking care of yourself, taking care of things around you. It's not being steward. It's a literal spirit that a door could have been opened by either yourself or in your bloodline, and you may need that to be cast out of you. Now, some people are just lazy because they're lazy, because they just want to watch TV, right? But some of it could be spiritual. Then you also need to make sure that you get the spirit of poverty broken off of your life and cast out. I've been teaching you how to change your thinking, but the spirit of poverty comes with things like sabotage. It comes with things like the vagabond spirit, which is the inability to settle anywhere. It's moving from place to place, job to job, can't make a decision. Vagabond spirit, Cain and Abel. Abel was marked to go and roam the world, right? And that's what happens when people have never been able to bear any fruit in any season. There might be vagabond on their family. My stepfather had that spirit. And for a very long time, even in our family, we struggled with that. I mean, we lived in so many different places, had so many different cars. There was no inconsistency. It wasn't until we figured out that there had been a vagabond spirit that was attached to my father that was now trying to attach in our lives, that's when things broke off of my mom and the rest of our family. So there are things that will cause you to be inconsistent, will cause you not to bear any fruit, that are actually spiritual, and you need to go get deliverance. All right. 2 more, and then I'll take your questions. Pay your money to get a coach. Pay your money to get a trainer. Pay your money to get an accountability partner. If you have tried something, you know it's not spiritual, you can't just figure it out, pay someone that will stay on you. Pay someone that will help you. Pay someone that will check in and say, did you do this goal? Did you complete this task? Some things we need a jump start at, and that jump start comes when we have brought somebody into our sphere to help us. And there's certain levels in God, levels in business, levels in your own life that you will not get to until you bring someone who's already on that level in your life. There are places in business until I joined a course or a class and I was working with the other students and seeing how motivated they are, that I probably wouldn't have gotten there on my own. There's groups on Facebook that I'm members of, different business groups, and they swap ideas and they share how much they made every single month. And I look at it, and some of you, the problem is you look at that and you get jealous. That's so ridiculous. What I do when someone is succeeding, when they're excelling, I'm like, I want to learn from them. I want to figure out what they're doing. And it should be something that motivates you. Success it cannot be done alone. Success is not a one-man job. Success is always done in community. It's done when you have accountability, when you have people that are pushing you. So some of you guys are not able to be consistent or disciplined even in your business because you just never had anyone to give you the steps. Do this first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then do this. That's what we do in our Wealth Transfer Academy. We're going to take you from the beginning of an idea to creating a business, to marketing it, to launching it, right? And you're going to have the accountability for 8 weeks of other people who are sharing their goals, how they have overcome, and so on and so forth. You guys know this stuff works for things like weight groups. Oh, by the way, we have a fast coming up, 7-day fast at the end of the month. But that's another thing. People say, I can't be disciplined in prayer. I just can't pray. Pray with other people. That's why we decided to make some of our corporate fast public, because we found out that other people were desiring to pray, but they couldn't get up every morning at 6 a.m. by themselves. And so when we do it as a group, they are able to jump on and they're able to excel and accelerate their life. Be consistent and disciplined. When you feel stuck, figure out when you got stuck, why you got stuck. What were you doing before you got stuck? And sometimes it's just a matter of fact of going back. So if I know I was going hard for God, I was going to church every day, I was worshiping every morning, I was reading my Bible at night, and then something happened with my children and I stopped all three. Well, just start all three again. Start going back to church. Then add the worship back. Add reading the word again. You're going to be on fire. This is not, nobody needs to lay hands on you. Figure out what was working before it stopped working and go back to it. And lastly, change your surroundings. Some of us need to have friends that are motivated, friends that are disciplined, friends that are excelling. You may need to change your friend circle. Some of us are in cities that struggle with the spirit of poverty, where everybody's under the poverty line, or somebody was just telling me, and I said, this confirms why Atlanta ain't for me. But somebody was just telling me, like, every business they did, the people that they were working with were all being shady. And that's not true about all of Atlanta. I'm making a joke, right? But if you're in a city where everybody's slimy and shady, that might not be the place for you, right? You need to go to a place where people operate in authenticity or integrity. Get out of the environment that has prohibited you from being able to move forward so that you can prosper. Same thing with church. Same thing. If you don't go to church, get in a church. If you don't have a place where you feel like you're being challenged or growing, pray about it. Join some groups within the church. Do something different to jumpstart you into your purpose. Amen. So we're going to take some of your questions. I'll take a couple of your questions around discipline, around consistency. As you are typing that up, I asked earlier for you guys just to drop in your notes one takeaway that you got from the teaching, one thing that you're going to apply. Right? We have our Wealth Transfer Academy that is open for registration. This is for people who want to launch a business, who are in ministry but need multiple streams of income, who have been giving away their virtue and the value for free, and they don't know how to package it. That is what the Wealth Transfer Academy is about. It's about those who've been doing business, but they haven't been able to scale it and go to the next level. And then we have our Eden Marriage Retreat. This is for the marriages that just need to be around healthy couples, or those that need a jump start, those that need inner healing, deliverance, and the next step. All right. How can you get deliverance if you don't have a church? I've just been reading the Bible and praying until I'm led to a church. I'm tired of churches that make me feel stuck. So you're probably not going to be led to a church. You're going to have to make a decision about what kind of church you want. Then you're going to Google the type of churches in your area. Then you're going to go. Churches is like trying on shoes. And you're going to see, does this work for me? You're going to go to the Connect desk and say, tell me about the vision. Tell me about the purpose. You may need to go 3-4 times, and then you're going to make a decision. People say this all the time, and I'm like, you're going to be in your bed for forever. They're saying, I'm waiting for God to lead me to a church. It's the same thing as when people say, well, I'm waiting for my husband to come. Well, if you don't position yourself to find a church, you're probably not going to find it. So there's ministries, though, that do deliverance that are outside of your church. So Ivory Hopkins, you can Google him. They do deliverance for people that don't go to their church. Bev Tucker, my church is finally opening it up. I don't know if it's open yet for people that are non-members, because we finally got through all of our members that needed deliverance 101. They're going to open up registration again. It's free, obviously, but please give a donation to anybody who gives you deliverance. I hate that people don't value people that help set them free, right? So you can sign up for ministries that provide inner healing and deliverance outside of that. And our DTA mentorship does a lot of inner healing work. We do a mass deliverance in that, and that opens for registration in February. All right. Dealing with internal issues was my biggest takeaway. It was connected to many dots. Yeah. Because we're not consistent and disciplined, not always because we don't know how to be, that there's something deeper and bigger that's going on that is preventing us from going forward. So we got to do the work. Let's see. Let's go down here with the questions. My takeaway is that I will revisit my goals with more detail. Yes, and review your goals every week, right? So don't just write out the goals, but review them every single week so that you could go forward. My takeaway is that I have to put in the work. Put in the work. There is no success. You know, people are like, you're so real. Why would you tell people you're not supposed to be an entrepreneur when you're trying to bring students into your class? Because I want people who authentically want to succeed in that particular area, right? And so there's no success that comes overnight. You got to put in the work. Cash App, thank you so much. If you want to sow into this teaching, if it has blessed you, my Cash App is just my first and last name. So Faith Wokoma. I normally don't put it in my things, but I'll put it in the comments here. Faith Wokoma and Instagram. You guys know my name, right? It's right up there. Thank you so much for giving. If you're doing things that work and something happened and it all stopped, start again. You were successful, so begin again. Exactly. Look at what happened that has prevented you, that stopped you, and go back. Sometimes it's just a matter of just going back. Once you found out about the vagabond spirit in your family, how did y'all break it? Is it necessary to distance yourself? No, we all broke it together. We broke it spiritually, but then we looked at patterns. And vagabond spirit is connected to poverty. And one of the ways you break the vagabond spirit is that you break the spirit of poverty, which I've been teaching about in the last 2 weeks. So one of the reasons people move from place to place is because they don't have the money to pay the rent, or they get in places that are really bad and run down. So they got to move to another place. So when you start making decisions that are different concerning resources, concerning your income, right? We could then pick where we wanted to live, and we don't have to move every 2-3 years because we have a job now that is paying the rent. So you want to look at things like discipline. You want to look at your value. You want to look at what you do for work. You want to look at your lack of commitment, because sometimes it's not financial, but it's the fear of commitment. And sometimes you may have to do some real inner healing and deliverance to get to the root of it. But once again, we'll open DTA up in February if you want to work through some of that stuff. All right. My takeaway is that I need to go back to when I was on fire with God. Yes, good. I often use preparation as a form of procrastination. Could that be because of fear? Yes. A lot of people that struggle with procrastination. Now, there's some people who work best that way. They say I do my best work that way, but what the adrenaline rush does to your body, that over a period of time, it's going to wear you out physically, right? Thank you, Lynn. Lynn I just saw her Squarecast. She's so giving. She's one of my DTA students. She just gave me stars this morning and sent money. But anyway, when we procrastinate and we do things like that, it wears our body down. So yeah, you may do your best work, but after a while, you're going to be physically exhausted because of the adrenaline rush. A lot of times people struggle with procrastination because, one, they're afraid, or they struggle with anxiety about the actual task, or they don't have the right information. And so they don't know how to proceed forward. All right. Someone said their takeaway is do some interpersonal work. What am I afraid of? What do I do most? What is stopping me? Exactly. And we're going to do some of that interpersonal work for the entrepreneurs, for those that join our Wealth Transfer Academy, to make sure that not only do you start a business, but you actually carry it on and you succeed. All right. Let's see on Instagram here. What are some of your questions? All right. My takeaway is that if that I self-sabotage and don't feel deserving. And so we learn how to feel deserving by learning who we are in God and what God says about us. We don't learn that we feel deserving by our works or by how smart we are or how beautiful we are. Only when we really know that we are loved by God and we belong, then we can receive the good things that want to come to us. All right. This is good teaching. Thank you. Is the Wealth Academy a good start when I'm just starting to open a business? I'm not established yet. Yes, the Wealth Academy is for people who don't have a business, the people who are just starting, and then the people who want to scale. So some people had started a business, but they just never had the proper steps. Like they don't know how to market. It just happened that it ended up being a good business, but they want to know some basic things around laws, around incorporation, around branding, around marketing. So it's good for whatever spectrum that you are at. I just joined, but my takeaway is that I need to just get up and get the work done. Good. You can watch the replay. I took Wealth Academy last year, but will review and update my dreams and visions. Good. How do I overcome learned helplessness? You want to figure out what made you helpless. And then you want to ask the Lord for what is true about your situation and not what you believe. When people are hopeless, is because they believe whatever they believe based on what happened, but not on what God says. So you want to say, God, what is the truth? I know that I failed last time, but that's not the truth because your word says you've made me an overcomer. You've made me someone who excels. You want to start rehearsing that truth so that you can move into a new place. I truly never monetized my talent because I didn't think anyone would pay for it. You'll be so surprised. I learned that what I thought was common sense or just simple knowledge, people really valued it, right? And so the more I gave that out, the more it was helping transform people's lives. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can make a living from helping, giving people information that will transform their life. When is the next class for World Transfer Academy? It'll be in 2 years from now. So we're going to run it this year. We're not going to run it next year because next year we have our fivefold school and our school of the prophets, in which we didn't have this year. So some of my classes I run every other year, depending on what's going on. So that's going to be not next year, but in 2022. All right. Let's see. Strong opinion. Awesome. 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 What's your Instagram? It's Faith Wokoma Saidi. Bless you guys. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna jump off, but I pray that you would just grow in examining and evaluating where you are, where you're going, that you would invite Holy Spirit to help you break things down, to help you get unstuck, get in communities, get the coaching you need, get the help that you need, so that you can become all that God has called you to become, and you could step up and succeed. Someone says, how do I sign up? All the information, you're in Periscope, so you need to go to askdrfaith.com, and all of my courses are there, and there's also other products on there that are helpful for your development. So we'll jump back on. I promised you guys that I was going to do a teaching on stewardship, and so we will do that, and then I'll do some Q&A right around business. So how should you relaunch a ministry? The first thing, and I'll answer these questions because I'm just seeing them on Instagram, but to relaunch a ministry, I would ask myself why it failed last time, right? Or what happened. It may not have failed. You may have stopped it. And then relaunching it has to do with identifying your audience or your people group. It has to do with how to connect with them. How do I connect with them? Then it has to do with building vision, right? So you got to build a pipeline for vision, sharing vision, growing them up, training them. It has to do with structure, placing them in the right proper places, and then figuring out when is the right time to launch. So each ministry is shaped differently, but there's certain steps that would be similar to all of them across the board. Does Legacy offer recommend therapists or counselors? So at our church, our elders have a list of recommended therapists in our city that if they meet with someone that they know needs a therapist, that they refer them out to. So they are in our city. How do I get reignited to finish my book? Watch this video and assess where you are at in it. If you're not financially fit to move, but you feel the Lord is pushing you out of state, are you being disciplined if you go, or stupid? No, sometimes the Lord will have you move and you have nothing, right? But I would also be applying for jobs in that city. And when doors open in jobs, to me, that's like the Lord saying, yes, go for it. So I would be applying for jobs. And if I get a job and I've been praying to move into that city, that would be my step forward. Okay. Any other questions that I may have missed? All righty. If not financially, okay, got it. What if you struggle with finding or knowing your why? Well, our Destiny Training Academy is all about that. We don't open enrollment for that until February, but you want to ask the Lord. You start with the basics, and I taught on this. You could watch the previous YouTube I did on purpose, why we are here, and how to identify your assignment and your calling. It's on YouTube. I'm from South Africa. How can I sow into this word? Don't know Cash App. Thank you so much. You can give via PayPal. And that is, you send it to giving at warringministriesint.org. That's PayPal. Just message us. We can give you a couple of different ways. Any other questions? View request from someone. This is new. Request. I don't know what that means on Instagram. So question, do you think that it matters the time you pray in the morning? No, you can pray in the morning, you pray at night, whatever works best for you. Relocating with nothing for ministry. Yep. Thank you guys. So good talking with you. Please come to Norway. I will. You know, we have so many followers from Norway, which is such a blessing. So one day we will make a plan to go to Norway. We have folks in Sweden and all of that. So one day, hopefully we can find you. Awesome. This is my first time viewing. I'm excited. I'm glad you were able to jump on with us. How come it seems that I'm in point when working for others, but lack intensity when working my own ideas? Well, not everybody's supposed to work their own ideas, right? And that's why I did this podcast, because some people are really great number twos and they're really great assistants. But you may need to find out what you need in order to have your own business, and then put people in place that can do those things. So it's a matter of examining all of that. As a matter of fact, I have a consultation in 15 minutes with the business to help them scale their business. So sometimes you may need to assess your business, look at its systems and figure out what's working and what's not, and then put people in place and go from there. Okay, moved with my parents. My job is letting me go. I was not sure what my next step should be. I'm currently in a relationship. Okay, well, what are your skills? What are your talents? What is your expertise? I can help anybody really monetize anything, but you need to figure out what your skills, your education, and your expertise are, and then go from there. Is working your purpose and calling? Your purpose is to know God, serve him, and live for him. Your calling and your assignment is how you do that, and that might include your job. All right, guys, chat with you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.